I almost gave these fuckers something for free. All right, here we go. It's free anyway. I don't know what I'm talking about. In 3, 2, 1. The Justin Robert Young podcast brought to you as always by everybody who supports us at payjurydaily.com. And if you want that hot jury politics, and night attack merch, you better get on the mailing list for stickers or DIAF. That is bit.ly/stickers or DIAF. Ho, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the JuRY Daily program. We are well into the midst of
Travel Week.
And we have our first Travel Week guest, a man that I have traveled many a mile with across this great country, my friend, Brett the Amtrekker Rounsaville. How you doing, buddy?
Yay, great. I missed the travel days. Those were fun.
Those were fun. I mean, I think they're more fun in our memory. I feel like I really
almost definitely.
Yeah. I feel like they travel days will be really, really fun when we can teleport. And me, you, and John can just go hang out at whatever that weird fake town that's built on top of a mall in Ohio is again for like 3 days and then leave instantly.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one. That was great. I think in general, it's really useful for humanity that we can only remember the highlight reel of life.
Yeah.
Because those are the moments. Like, I just remember, laying on a lazy river or, going to see a wrestling match. I don't remember, how awful it was to not sleep and to sit on planes for days on end.
Yeah, that's really the biggest problem is that ultimately the only reason why we remember those things, the highlights, are A, because of our memory, and B, because we had been beaten down physically and mentally to understanding that was the way of life that we had to live, right?
That's painful and true, but that's kind of true.
All right. What we want to talk about here is a utilitarian example of a very common problem. So this is the busiest travel week of the year. A lot of people are going to be flying that don't normally fly. And what they're going to run into sometimes, specifically when, let's say people only make one trip a year, and so you're going to bring Christmas presents or something on Thanksgiving. You're bringing a lot of stuff. You're trying to cook, with your family. You bring a lot of stuff that you might not normally throw in your bag, and you're going to run into bag weight limitations, which can get as low as 25 pounds. I think right now with my status, it's up to 50 pounds. Back when we were floating in the lazy river, I think we both had 3 75-pound bags that we could take, so we could have started a moving service.
And still went over, regularly?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. So, all right, things that we're not going to talk about are the perks of having a frequent flyer status, wherein there's a lot of fudging that can happen. You can be late to a flight, not late into getting into the gate, but late to do a bag check. This happened a couple weeks ago. Ashley and I were traveling, and we were later than Ashley wanted us to be, which actually ran us a few seconds afoul. Oh, here's a hot tip that you might not know. There is such a thing as a bag cutoff time. So if you get to an airport and you're not sometimes 45 minutes to an hour before your stated flight, they will not let you check a bag. That feels like something that became a thing while we were traveling. I don't remember that as a kid. Do you?
Well, what's hard about it is that it is so there's so many variables to it. There's no such thing as TSA saying we need you there an hour before. It's each airport saying this is just how long it takes us to get a bag from here to there. And so you can go into Oakland 25 minutes before and be fine, or Chicago O'Hare and it's 3 hours or you're SOL.
Yeah, and this is not consistent. This is airport by airport by airport. So in general, you're usually safe at 45, but there are some that are like an hour.
Exactly.
It is more than that, and there is no warning, nor, by the way, is there any kind of easy searchable database for this. Like,
No.
I've definitely looked through stuff before, and you can't call somewhere and be like, hey, how long? Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares. All right.
No.
This is about straight up cheating. You are going to cheat these airports out of money that they are setting up an unfair system for you to pay them. All right? You're not gonna give them money. So let's get an example, Brett. You have a bag. Let's say the bag limit is 25. Open Buy keeps saying it's long for international travel. That is true, but it is, again, I swear to you that we have traveled across the country. It is inconsistent for domestic travel. Double check. Try to call your airport and figure it out. All right, but let's say 25-pound bag limit. You have a bag that is 26 pounds. What is your strategy?
Yeah. So one thing that I feel like we have to go backwards on for just a second is that although there are perks that come with having status of any kind, this is a situation where everyone runs into it. Like, you're always going to pack to just at or just over your weight. And you might think it's just at, and then get there and you find out their scale is a little mishy-mashy and it weighs things a little bit differently, and then you're stuck. And that happens to everyone. It doesn't matter if your weight limit is 70 pounds or 25 pounds. So the way I have often gotten around it is, again, it works best if you have a rolly bag. If you have 4 wheels, this is the ideal situation to be in, because it is very easy to make sure only 3 of those wheels are actually on the scale and that the other one flips over just a little bit. And if that happens, you're already 25% underweight. Right off the bat, you shaved off 4 pounds.
Yeah.
Bam.
So when for those margin calls, you are padding your stats here. This is going to be more likely to work because you're just hanging a little bit. This is just physics, folks. You're just hanging a little bit off the edge, and therefore you're going to be just a little bit under what the scale is going to say.
Mm-hmm. And there are some scales that this doesn't work on, but most airport scales have like a square section where you can weigh, and then there's like a little like a bezel around the outside edge. And if you can get that wheel on that bezel, that's where you want that one wheel, just one wheel. You do 2 wheels, you're flying too close to the sun. They're gonna notice.
Now, here's the advanced work, because I've always done that. I always thought that was the only way that you could cheat the scale. But the last trip I went on, this was down to LA for Politicon, where weight was an issue because I'm bringing card games, right? And those weigh a lot. And they're in boxes, so I'd have to go into the box and take one out. And that's exactly what happened, because you want to know what I had? Some real motherfucking Ranger Rick who decided to grab my bag out of my hands, right, and put it with 2 hands squarely in the center, not giving me the opportunity to hang my one my one roller ball off the side.
What a narc.
What a fucking cop-ass cop, right? So John Teasdale, our fellow traveler, formerly of the Go Game, tells me, oh, you fucked up. You don't know the real way to cheat the scale.
Oh, I'm so eager to hear.
So apparently the real way to check to cheat the scale, and this is not universal, because not all these scales have any kind of edge on them, like that bezel like you were talking about, right? Mm-hmm. But if they do, you just go ahead and lift your toe up on the edge of that bezel, and that takes a few pounds off.
Nice.
Now you can't be crazy, and it's only certain kinds of scales. So Brett, the hang loose method is probably the best, right? That's going to be more likely when it's like a center thing and then like a border around it. But there are some scales that kind of stick out a little that you can give it a little foot paddle upwards that'll take a little off the scale.
Oh, it's basically like paybacks for every butcher that's ever added half a pound to your meat.
Yep. Yep, you're doing it the opposite way. You're doing it the justice served lean. All right, now the one other thing that I knew I needed to talk to you about before I let you go is something that we talked about yesterday on this show, and that was a Wall Street Journal list. That put
whatever you talked about yesterday was just 30 minutes of groaning.
Is there an airport that you hate more in America than Denver International Airport?
Well, actually, Denver is not my most hated airport, only because I have slept on the floor of the Denver airport more than I've slept in most beds. So it's a little bit like home in that regard. But it is just bad. Like, there's no quick route from A to B in the Denver airport. Like, sure, you have all those moving sidewalks, but like, how much nicer is it to move 2 miles per hour for 3 miles than to move 4 miles per hour for 3 miles? It's not ideal by any stretch. But what really gripes me about that list was not what number 1 was. It was what number 1 through 10 was. Every airport on that list is universally bad, from like carpet to restaurants to checked bags. Everything about it.
Well, I mean, to be fair to that list, they were ranking the biggest airports. And the biggest airports are going to be the ones that you're going to spend the most pain in, right?
Right.
All right, so
of those 10, which was your favorite? I'm sure you already talked about it.
No, I did not. I did not say my favorite. You know, it's not ideal. But to do a big airport, I think O'Hare, maybe? Houston, I've never really had that big of a problem with. It seems, at least on some level, cohesively designed where there's little enclaves. I mean, really, the one thing that is unforgivable about Denver is that it is a gigantic, endless hallway. That's just cruel.
Right.
Like, there's no way.
Yeah, just straight on till morning. Second star to the right, straight on till morning. You just keep walking.
At the very least, even if you have to go a long distance in those other airports, there are little shortcuts in and out of places, right? And I don't know, maybe it's like I hold Denver, Houston, and Chicago in very specific regard because those were always the connections going east and west for United. Mm-hmm. So at least I always knew, like, okay, I'm in O'Hare. I normally go through here. I know if I'm doing a regional airline, I'm going to go to Gate F. If I'm doing something else going across the country, I'm going to stay in Gate C or Terminal C. Like, I just knew where everything was, and it wasn't a pain in the ass to get there. Same with Houston. Denver, it was always a crapshoot. I have no idea. I have no clue where anything is, and I might have been going to the exact same gate every fucking time that I went there, but how would I know? It looks the exact same. Everything looks the same.
Well, that's the one defense I have for Denver, is it's actually impossible to get lost in Denver.
It is.
If you're doing a connecting flight in United, you can only be right or wrong. It is as binary as it gets. Do I turn left or right when I walk out of my gate to get to my connecting flight? Like, there's no way that you're ever going to end up on a tram to the wrong terminal, because there's no trams to take you to the other terminal.
No.
There's no cross-pollination.
Maybe that's why I have such visceral hate for Denver, is that it doesn't even have the decency to trick me into thinking that I'm close to where I need to go. It is blunt and honest. You have 1,000,000 miles to go and 5 seconds to get there because your plane started boarding 10 minutes ago.
I just thought of another thing that I like about Denver, is not all of their seating has arms built in. So if you do want to drag one of their rows of seats up the escalator into one of those little enclaves that are up top that no one ever goes into, then it's basically a bed. Basically, they gave you a free cot for the night.
Oh man, that is true. There are little nap sections in the Belfry of the Denver International Airport. That is an absolute fact. If you go up the escalators, there's like a little mini mall, and then there's these little like corner areas, and some of them even have cots. Although I don't know whether or not that's just for veterans. It might be just like a veteran thing where people can sleep there, but you can definitely
I
just.
think you actually stumbled across Quasimodo's home. That's where he stays when he's not ringing the bell at the tower of Denver Airport.
What is the air? Is there an airport that you have an irrational love or hate for?
I genuinely dislike the Phoenix Airport. Like, that is the one.
And that was on the list too. We did mention the fact that we did mention the fact that Phoenix has the most bizarre carpet, where it's either it's either at its most generous, a plane going around the airport waiting to land, at its most awful, a plane in a death spiral about to crash, or at its most bizarre, a plane in a toilet going down the drain.
None of which you want.
None of which you're like, oh, thank God that happened.
Oh, man. But, I mean, even beyond the airport just makes me sick, or the carpet just makes me sick to my stomach. I see that, and I think, like, oh, I'm in Phoenix. This is terrible. But beyond that, it's not a very well laid out airport either. This has the exact opposite problem in Denver. It's like there are infinite ways to get lost in the Phoenix airport. For some reason, you can turn right 7 times and not see where you started.
That is true.
Only happens in Wonderland and the Phoenix airport.
That's it. 2 places, and we found them both. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank our guest today, Brett, the Amtrekker Rounsaville. Brett, where can people find more of what you do?
I'm just on Twitter. You can find me at Amtrekker, AMTREKKER.
Awesome. Possum. All right, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
Yep. Fun talk later, buddy. There
we go. The bag trick. We're giving you bag tricks, baby. Let's go ahead and get into the mail. JuRYDaily@gmail.com, or you can go ahead and leave a comment right here on this very YouTube video. Diamond Scoop writes, you asked for travel stories, and I got a funny travel story. As you know, I'm a crazy person who drives long distances. Well, I was driving from Tillamook, Oregon, back home to Sacramento via the 101, again, because I'm crazy, when a bear ran across the street. Luckily for me, I wasn't close to the bear, but the car ahead of me hit it. They hit the bear's ass with their passenger side corner, which caused the bear to start spinning like a top. The bear was spinning on its stomach with its legs splayed out. Then it flipped over and started spinning on its back while falling on its legs like it was running on the sky. Eventually, the bear spun onto the side of the road and ran off into the bushes. Everyone was okay, but the car that hit it was brand new. It even still had the dealer plates on it. I mean, number one, I don't even know what the physics are of hitting a bear and making it spin. Like, the idea that a car was able to make the bear spin like that is just amazing. I would wonder if you could do it on purpose. Obviously, we don't want to hit the bears on purpose, but you know, guys, what I'm talking about. Jesus. Tom writes, here's my travel hell story. It was the first time traveling from Dallas to Chicago for work. It was supposed to be a direct flight from O'Hare to DFW, but that didn't end up happening. American had assigned a Boeing 777 to the flight, and essentially the damn thing broke before scheduled takeoff. I think the main problem was with the environmental controls, but I don't remember anymore. I do remember that they essentially tried rebooting the plane to no avail. American eventually canceled the flight, and stupid me opted for a flight connecting through Austin instead of waiting for the next direct flight. Got to Austin fine, but missed the connection back up to Dallas. Then rainstorms popped up in Dallas, and that delayed me for a few more hours. I essentially spent the whole day in O'Hare and Austin and didn't get to my hotel in Dallas until well after sunset. This was in late May, early June. I missed an entire day with the Dallas crew because of all this. I was able to catch most of the day's night attack, though, as I was traveling on a Tuesday. Well, that's good news, Tom. Here's another pro tip if you're in a situation like this. Most airlines, this is a pro traveler thing. If you have delays, make your way whatever direction you're going. The sooner you can make your way there faster, the better. I would always not wait for the direct flight. I would take the connecting flight. But once you're in Dallas, start doing that math in your head on when that connecting flight's going to happen. Because in general, most airlines will give you a rental car. They will buy you a one-way rental car because of delayed stuff. And even if they don't pay for it, a lot of times, especially at a lot of major airports, like going from Dallas to Austin, you might have been able to get one. And that's only like a 3-hour drive. So it's either you're farting around at the airport or you're moving by yourself and you don't have to worry about rain. So keep that in mind. Get in the rental car when you get like into horseshoe and hand grenade range. Pro tip. Xander writes, I currently live in Orlando and I'm traveling to St. Louis for a Friendsgiving. The problem is that my family also lives in St. Louis, but I really don't want them to know I'm going to be in town. I don't dislike my family. I just don't feel the need for quality time right now. Part of me feels guilty for keeping this a secret because I know there's a risk that I might run into somebody who tells my family or posts a picture of me on social media. I feel like I should just pop in and say hi, but my family is the kind that would guilt me into sticking around to wait for my cousins to show up, then another couple hours for my sister to show up, then an entire day of my trip disappears. Am I the asshole here? Xander? Yes. You're not an asshole. You're just furthering what is obviously a rift between you and your family. Without going into it, I can sense that there's probably some issues there that you just don't want to deal with. So here's what you do. You have half the plan already in there. You're telling your family you're not going to be there. You show up. Now, what you need to work on, and Xander, promise me this, Xander. You got to have some spine. You got to say, hey, I wanted to show up. However, I got a bunch of friends. They made a big thing. So I'm going to go back there for, Friendsgiving or whatever, or do it the day after the day after Thanksgiving, something like that. But have some spine. You got to have some spine here. You got to set boundaries with your family. You will have a better relationship with your family if you set boundaries. This is important. This is healthy. If you set boundaries with your family, you're more likely to not go into these situations in the future. If you respect them and they respect you, then that's the ideal situation. But you can't expect them to respect you unless you ask them to respect you, and then you leave if they don't. That's that. So you walk in, you're the rock star. Hey, Xander's here. And then you're like, hey, look, I love you guys, but I got to go. I got this other thing. I will see you guys later. I couldn't bear to be in town without seeing you guys. My family, I love you guys so much, but I got a piece TF out. Day 2 of travel week in the books. Oh, also, Thomas wrote in, I humbly ask you to please don't use car horn sounds on the podcast as I listen to it while driving. I mean, look, we already made the sounder. The good news is there's only 2 more days of hearing the sounder. So, disregard. I want to go ahead and thank our producers calling now to the grand jury: Bill, Dustin, Middle Age, Mike, BioCow, Robert H., Brian C., M., and Trey the Melodica Man. I want to remind you guys to all go ahead and get on the mailing list for all the new merch. New merch coming out Black Friday. Night Attack merch. JuRY merch. Politics merch. It is all available to you on stickers or DIAF on Black Friday. bit.ly/stickers or DIAF. New stickers, new pins, new buttons. You can email me, jurydaily@gmail.com, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat @JustinRYoung, and you can join our Discord, bit.ly/jury Discord. Folks, that about wraps it up for us today. Until tomorrow, please give a round of applause to Mr. Wacky. And of course, please, go!
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
God damn it, I didn't fucking record it. Gal, dang it.